Hi, this is Mr. Hammer. I'm here for section 9.5. We're going to talk about adding integers. The idea is that we can show how to add integers using a number line. So you start with 4 plus 2 equals 6. Well, you start at 0, you add your 4, you move to the right, and then you add your 2. Simple enough. So that's using positive numbers only. How do we deal with negative numbers as well? So let's look at the first example here. What if we have a minus 2 first, and then a positive 3 second? How do we add those? Well, again, we start at our 0, and we'll start with the first number, and we'll move to the left instead of to the right because it's a negative number. So negative 2 goes this way, and then from that point, from negative 2, that's when we would add positive 3 and move to the right. And as you can see, we end up at positive 1, and that's going to be our answer. Let's look at the next example, where we have that same negative 2 here, but this time we're going to be adding a negative integer. Minus 2 plus minus 3, or negative 2 plus negative 3. In this case here, we start at the 0, we move 2 spaces left for our negative 2, and then from there we continue moving another 3 spaces for the negative 3. That leaves us at minus 5. Now in both of these examples, what I find that gets a little bit confusing is our 2 signs here in the middle, and our 2 signs here, and these 2 signs, and these 2 signs. So what I like to do is I like to take those and find a pattern. So let's look at the example of positive 5, and we're going to be adding, all of these times we're adding, we're going to start by adding positive 2, and then we're going to look at positive 5, and we're going to add negative 2. And we're going to look at how to rewrite these with less signs, because right now we have 1, 2, 3 signs. That's a little too many for my liking. So first of all, when you have a positive sign at the beginning of your question, you do not have to put it further down. So I can simply continue by writing 5. It's implied here that there's a plus sign in front. That's silent. Then the next step is to look at what these 2 signs are. I've got plus and plus. And we saw before on the number line that I went positive 5 to the right for my 5, and I continued to go 2 more for the plus 2 over here, which means essentially these 2 plus signs really mean one single plus sign. So when I have a plus, plus, I know that's just a single plus sign, and then my 2 comes down here. So I can rewrite positive 5 plus positive 2 as simply 5 plus 2, which will simply give me 7. Now let's look at the next example. Positive 5 plus negative 2. Well, first of all, I can get rid of that plus sign at the beginning only. Now plus minus. On the number line, we would go plus 5 to the right, and then with the negative 2, we would go 2 spaces to the left, negative 2. So that's kind of like saying that the plus and minus, right now I'm just looking at the signs, the plus and the minus really can change into a negative because we're really doing 5 minus 2. And then the 2 will come down here. So when I see a positive and a negative, I can simply turn them into a negative sign. And in this example, my answer will be positive 3. What if our first integer was a negative number? How does that change things? We'll add positive 2 first, and then we will add negative 2 and see what happens. So, in this case here, unlike when we had a positive in front of the first number, when we have a negative, we can get rid of the brackets, but we do have to put the sign there beside the number. Now, when we have plus plus, we're going to turn that into a single plus sign. So the 2 positives will change into a single, and then we're just going to add that number there. So minus 5 plus plus 2 turns into minus 5 plus 2, which will then turn into minus 3. What about this example here? In this case here, we're going to go minus 5 on our number line to the left, and then we're going to go another minus 2 to the left. So it's kind of like we're doing minus 5 minus 2. So we're going to rewrite this again as minus 5, and then we're going to take our positive and our negative sign there, combine them together, and make a single negative sign, and then move our digit 2 down here. So minus 5 minus 2 will then equal to minus 7. So here's a rule that we can look at. If we have A, and we're going to be adding a positive number B, that's going to turn into A plus B. Our 2 positives are going to turn into a single positive. So that's circumstance number 1. The other circumstance is we have A, and this time we'd be adding a negative number. A plus minus B. In this case, we discovered that if we take our positive and minus together, we can simply exchange it with a negative. And this can help you when you're trying to solve most of these cases where you're adding two integers. So looking at example number 1 here, we're adding positive 5 to negative 2. Well, according to what we just talked about, the 5 will turn into a 5, my positive and negative sign will turn into a minus, and I'll be doing 5 minus 2. So my answer is 3. Very easy. Next, let's look at this example. Sandra and Joe buy and sell CDs at a flea market. In August, they bought 14 CDs for $5 each, and they sold 6 CDs for $9 each. Did they make money or did they lose money? How much money did they make or how much did they lose? Well, let's first find out how much they paid. They paid 14 times 5. 14 times 5, 27, 70. They paid $70. And they sold. So this is how much money they brought in. We're going to call that income. They sold 6 CDs at $9 each. I know that's going to be $54. So we're going to end up doing $54 minus $70. How does that look on a number line? Well, if 0 is here, it means that they made $54, which is going to be over here. But then they spent $70, which means we're going to go up to 54 back, and then we're going to have to go another 16 into the negative. That's going to show us how much they lost. They lost $16 because they only brought in $54 while they spent $70. I'm out of here.
Boo, galoo, boo, boo, galoo.